It might sound strange coming from someone who basically writes for a living and who's just written an entire book. But writing has never come easy to me, especially not writing in English. I'm not a native speaker of English. And so writing in English has always been an obstacle. And there's something about the dread of a white page staring back at you and needing to write something. And in academic context, that something is never just anything. It comes with this kind of range of expectations and anxieties. There's this sense that so much is writing on these words that have to come on that piece of paper. And maybe more importantly, we feel that when we write, or at least I feel when I write, that it is deeply personal in a way. Like I'm sharing my thoughts, I'm sharing my thinking. And so whatever is written will be evaluated and will be judged. And I often felt that that then meant a personal judgment, an evaluation of my value, of my thinking of. And so I would stare, I would freeze, I would stare at the screen. And then I would switch to reading. I'd read a lot. And I would always find more reasons to read and not to start writing. And then when I eventually had to start writing, for a long time, I would go through this very intense emotional cycle where I would reach a point where I'd be utterly convinced that whatever I'd written was the worst thing ever, and that I would never succeed, that I was not smart enough, not capable of, that my English was not good enough to ever write what I had to write. And I would literally break down. I would cry. I would crawl in a ball on my bed. And I would wonder why I'd ever been accepted in an academic program, be convinced that I would never be able to accomplish it. And I would speak to everybody around me. I would go cry with my roommates. I would go cry with my parents. And then after that breakdown, after I just kind of had given up all hope, only then I could sit down, take a deep breath and commit. And I would write and I would finish. And I think over time, I came to realize that that was a very kind of draining emotional cycle, not just for me, but for everybody around me as well. And I think with time, I realized that critiques to my writing are not judgments of me as a person, and that the world really would not collapse if my writing was not utterly amazing. And kind of taking all that weight off of it somehow made writing less of a torture. I mean, it's still very hard, don't get me wrong. I still dread the white page, and writing will probably never come natural to me. It will always require work. But I've come to realize that it's often about just taking a deep breath and get started, and that somehow that page and me will start working together. And so my tip for people who might similarly struggle with their term papers or making them unsurmountable mountains rather than small hills that we have to get over, there's a few things. Don't get caught up in reading. Set yourself a limit. I'll read 5 articles and then I'll get started. Second, just get your ideas out. Just brainstorm. Don't fuss about having to get the perfect sentence on there. It's often about getting the whiteness off the page and getting words on there. So start with a brainstorm and then let it sit. Write without paying too much attention to the exact words and the exact organization, especially if you're not a native English speaker. And then go back and revise. It's easier to revise than waiting for these perfect sentences. And then maybe most importantly, know that this writing is not a piece of you, that it's not the be all and end all of your academic career. And don't put too much of your own expectations on it. It's a paper and you'll get it done one breath at a time.